Hi there, I'm Scott D. Forsyth, professional voice actor and pop culture enthusiast. Today, we're talking about a digital collectible card game. Now stay with me, because this one is worth your time and is a snap to play. The game is called Marvel Snap. I'll be going over the who's, how's, what's, and why I recommend it to a general audience, thus claiming it best of all. But first, let's take a quick break and get right back to the show. Take a quick break so I can play one round of Marvel Snap in between recordings. Just kidding, I'm not going to do that. Unless. Okay, I promise you I didn't actually play a game of Marvel Snap. I have no way of proving that, but I didn't do it. But anyway, what is Marvel Snap? Well, Marvel Snap is the latest and greatest digital collectible card game. So think of something like Pokemon cards or Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone, or closer to Hearthstone because you play it on your phone or your computer. So nothing is physical, it is all digital, thus being called a digital collectible card game. And in this game, you take 12 cards to build a deck of different characters from the Marvel comic universe. We're talking superheroes, villains, we're talking about items, anything Marvel related. And you use that to battle one other player to control 2 out of 3 areas of a board. That's it. That's the game. Sounds pretty simple, but who designed the game? Well, Marvel Snap, or Snap as I will just probably be calling it, was created by Ben Brode, that's his name, and his studio, Second Dinner, who are mostly former developers of Hearthstone, a game that I just mentioned like a minute ago, and was a very, very big collectible card game. Many of you have probably heard of it, especially if you were big in the gaming scene for, the past 7 years or so. Hearthstone was inspired by World of Warcraft. I say inspired, it is from World of Warcraft. It is the same, or Warcraft, I should say, because World of Warcraft is the computer game. The MMO, Warcraft was the series and the game, whatever. It was a game that was beloved by many, many people. Huge hit. Hearthstone was an enormous success. And those developers said, hey, we kind of want to make our own game. We want to separate from Blizzard, as we all do at this point. That's not the reason why they left. They just wanted to make their own game. I don't want to put words in their mouth. But yeah, they took everything they learned from this successful card game and made their own. So how does Marvel Snap work? Okay, it's going to be a little hard to explain over an audio format, but stick with me. I had to record this episode a second time because I did not like how I explained it, but this time I have concrete notes that are well adjusted to explain it to you, a general audience, to you, the wonderful viewer. So I thank you for listening, and I thank you for what you're about to hear. So you take your deck of 12 cards, and you try to control 3 areas of the board. I said that in the setup. So you and your opponent have 6 turns to do this. And once the 6 turns are up, the match is over. So the games take about 3 minutes to play. Thus, me making the joke that I can play it in between the break, because it is meant to be played in a small bite-sized format. This isn't a long game. You don't have a lot of setup. It's just on your phone. You just boot up the app and you click play, and boom, you're in a match. And then boom, you're out of a match because it takes no time to play. You and your opponent act simultaneously. So on turn 1, you both play a card if you have a card available. And every turn, you gain energy, which allows you to play cards. So like I'm saying, on turn 1, you have 1 energy. That means you can play a card like Hawkeye, the bow and arrow Avengers guy, or Ant-Man, or Rocket Raccoon, because those cards cost 1 energy to play. So let's say you put down Hawkeye. They put down Ant-Man. Then turn 2, you have 2 energy to spend. So now you can play cards like Star-Lord, who cost 2 energy, or you can play any 1-cost card twice. So let's say this time you drew Ant-Man and Rocket Raccoon. Well, it's like, well, okay, I'm going to play both of these on turn 2 because they cost 1 energy. And you do this for each of the turns. By turn 6, whoever has the most power at 2 of the 3 areas of the board wins the match. Because each card varies in power, such as Hawkeye is a 1/1 card. Costs 1 energy. He has 1 power. But a card like Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, is 6/12. He costs 6 energy to play, so you really only be playing him on turn 6. And he has 12 power because he's the Incredible Hulk, and you've been waiting the entire game to play this card. So that's the basics. That's it. I hope that makes sense. I so desperately want to ask. This is the old school minister, speaker, teacher in me going, does anybody have any questions? Because that's it. That is the basics of the game. But now the game does get more complex the more you play. Some cards, most cards, have abilities that have them do something extra outside of their cost and power. So, like, I'm like, who do I want to explain? Hawkeye. So you play Hawkeye, and if you play a card next to Hawkeye on your next turn, he gains like 2 energy or two power. I'm trying to be very specific on my on what terms I'm using to make everything make sense. So you get stronger. And it's not like these cards are actually battling each other. You were just trying to rack up the most like numbers essentially on a given area. So it's not like you're going to have, Hawkeye fighting Hulk, which, I mean, it's kind of what's happening in the game, but your focus is like, okay, I have 6 power on this area. And so it's like, okay, I want to make sure that I have, 12 power on the third area, because right now my opponent has 17 power on the second area. So it's like, okay, they're clearly going to win the second area, but it's like, but I can get the first one, and if I get the third one, then I'm going to win the match. That's how it goes. It's a numbers game. Now, I said that cards have different abilities. Not all of them, but most of them do. That goes for the areas of the board. Every match, the locations change. Now, it's still area 1, 2, and 3. It changes things up where maybe in location 1, you have Wakanda, which that ability, if a card is played there, it can't be destroyed. So maybe that affects the cards that you have. Maybe it doesn't. But then you have another location that could be like location 3 is Washington, D.C., and it boosts the power of any card that doesn't have an ability. Like the Hulk. The Hulk is just strong. So if I play Hulk on Washington, D.C., then I think he's going to get like a +3. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I've played this game so much that I believe that is correct. So it's like a mix of Uno in the randomness that you have these set rules, but things will change at any given time, but change within the rule set. Nothing like completely breaks the game. There are a few occasions of cards that do, but it's like, okay, if you understand the basics, 9 times out of 10, you won't be confused on what is happening in a given match. But then the game is also a little bit like poker, because there is a bluffing and wagering mechanic to the game as well, where you wager cubes. This is where the snap element of the game comes in. If you snap, you will wager these little cubes that everybody has. And everybody, at the start of a match, it says 1. If you win the match, you will get 1 cube. But if you think that you're going to win, then you snap and it makes it 2. You double it. And if your opponent goes, no, I think I'm going to win, then if they snap, that'll increase it to 4. If you both have snapped by the end of the, before the end of the last turn, it'll go up to 8. So it's in small increments. So 2, 4, 8. And that's as much as you can win and as much as you can lose. If I feel very confident and I'm like, I'm going to win, I'm going to play Hulk at this last turn, they're not going to see it coming. But oh no, they had a Hulk the whole time. And they had a card that made a copy of the Hulk. So they have 2 Hulks. 2 Hulks? I can't deal with that. I didn't expect that. And now I've lost 8 cubes. So But that's how the wagering mechanic works. You think you're going to win? Wager. If you want to bluff, and if you go, I have terrible cards, which none of the cards are actually that terrible, but if you know, like, hey, I'm not going to win, but if I keep snapping and I keep wagering and they think, oh, Scoot, he's going to win, then maybe they'll do another mechanic in the game, an escape, which is a great mechanic. I love this because nothing feels worse than when you're playing a card game like this and you just know there's no way I'm going to win. I'm going to lose. But if you escape, you will only lose half of the cubes wagered during the game. It's kind of like folding in poker. A lot of the mechanics are very similar to poker. Betting, raising, folding. You can do that, which is really great. So that is all of the basics and the advanced mechanics of the game without like delving deep into, everything that you can do in this game. Because there are resources and an audience for that. That is not this podcast. This podcast is just to highlight a game that I think a general audience would enjoy. And I really do. This may be the most complex game that I've recommended. On Best of the Year, there's been a few games that I'm like, maybe not everybody would love that game, but I loved it. But that's kind of why I think this is best of all. It's a Marvel property. Everybody knows these characters by now. I mean, this is one of the biggest franchises in the world, especially Avengers. And some of these old characters that like were so not in the mainstream at all, like Iron Man and Moon Knight, are now like household names. Like the Guardians, oh my goodness. Like nobody knew these characters, and now they do. So when you see Rocket, if you've seen a majority of these movies, which there's like 26 of them now, not including the TV shows, I'm sure that people have seen these characters. You get some enjoyment out of that. You're like, oh, well, that's neat. Like I know who these characters are. And I think that Second Dinner Studios has done a great job in making the characters feel like how they would feel in their respected comic books or movies. Hulk, he's a very strong card. He's a big menace and a big powerhouse. And then someone like Captain America is a 3-cost card. I think he's a 3/3. But his ability is that he boosts the power of people in his area. So you get this kind of fun, like he even has a voice line where he goes, Avengers, assemble. And so like you can play up to 4 cards in one area. And so if you get Captain America and 3 other cards, it kind of feels like a rallying team thing. It like, there's no story to this game. There's no like objective other than just like playing, kind of like in poker or chess. You were just playing a game to have fun. There's a little bit of a thematic element of like, yeah, like I have Hawkeye, Iron Man, and Ant-Man all getting boosted by Captain America, and they're all working together to, save Wakanda or something, or save Washington, D.C. It feels like a comic book. You feel like the Avengers or your team is splitting up to tackle these locations to fight whoever they need to fight. It's as a big Marvel fan and a big comics fan, it feels very fun. For a while, that I just enjoyed playing the game and seeing the characters interact kind of in a little bit of like an inner child, like pretend, like playing with toys of like, oh yeah. And now this is when Star-Lord and Carnage team up, and oh no, Carnage has infected Star-Lord. Now Carnage is stronger. It's like stuff like that. It's like, it's just fun. I like that element of it. That's what kind of hooked me. I was like, this is just fun to play. And it's relatively simple to understand. It seems like a lot in the beginning. The game does a much better job of explaining it, especially because it's visual. I'm more of an auditory learner. Like I need to listen to things, but visuals help me a lot when I'm like learning something. And so the game does a great job of doing that. And the little tutorial and the first matches that you play against computers, it's great. Really, there's no trouble in any of that for someone who's just interested and to play this game, especially because it's free. You can just download it on your iOS or Android device and just play the game. Another reason that I just really enjoy it is it has reinvigorated like my friends group chat. Like me and Tristan and Ben, who are friends of the show and friends of Best of the Year. we've been talking about like, oh, the different cards that we've gotten and the different like, oh, like what decks are we building, and are taking the game a little bit more seriously than I expected. Because I've played Magic for years. I've played other collectible card games, both digital and physical. And I've always just played them in a way that's like, oh, this is fun. I enjoyed this. Like, I don't really think of it competitively. I don't think of it like, oh, I'm trying to, beat my opponent and like do everything my deck has to offer. I'm just like, I just want to have fun. I just want to socialize. And so Marvel Snap has kind of taught me like why a more competitive aspect is fun. And so it's like I have a deck that has to do with cards that have the ability of discarding. So whenever I discard a card, specifically one card, Dr. Michael Morbius, it's Morbin time, gets stronger. He's a 2-cost card, so I can play him on turn 2. Or turn 2 on, and he has 0 power. And you're like, 0 power? That kind of sucks. That sounds a lot like his movie. And I'm like, yeah. But if I play Blade, who automatically discards a card from my hand, that makes Morbius stronger. It gives every card I discard, gives Morbius 2 power. So it's like, okay, that's the mechanic of this deck. So I'm constantly discarding cards. I have another card that brings out a card that I've discarded, which still gives Morbius the buff, but it then allows me to play that card that was discarded. So it's like I have all these little combos and things that are happening and doing, and it's like it feels very rewarding. I didn't realize that could be the fun of card games. It's so enjoyable. It's so unique. It's something I highly recommend, even if it sounds really intimidating. I feel like even if you just enjoy it for like an hour, I think you'll still get some satisfaction and go, okay, I can see why people like this. It may hook you like it hooked me. It may not, but it's something that is a good use of the Marvel property, and is using characters and characters that you know and characters that you will see eventually. There's a ton of X-Men characters. This game has so many X-Men characters. For a while, I only had a deck that was just X-Men characters, which is wild because like Marvel's been really weird about, making sure that we don't see the X-Men and stuff until now that they actually own them. But like, it's going to be so cool when, me and my friends are all watching the next big Avengers movie. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of an X-Men character that's not like super famous. Morph or Forge show up and we're like, whoa, I know Forge, he's from the game. Or what I'm seeing more now is people are now being introduced to Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, who are 2 characters I absolutely love, but they're like pretty good cards right now, especially Devil Dinosaur. So it's like they're getting their own animated series sometime soon. And so it's like Ben's going to be like, hey, Devil Dinosaur, I know who that is. And I'm sure that some people don't even know that Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur are like a duo. That's just a nerdy thing for me. It's cool. It's cute. It's a great game. Now you might be thinking, all of this sounds great, but a collectible card game on the phone, when do I have to pay money? Because you said it's free, but we all know free comes with a price. Well, I can maybe not confidently say, but I can say you don't have to spend money. Because the way you gain more cards is by spending credits. So credits is this currency that's in the game that you get by playing the game, by doing little missions every day, by everybody gets every day you get like 50 credits for free. And you can use those credits to upgrade your cards. Now, when you upgrade a card, that does not affect the card's ability, as everybody's cards work the same and will always work the same. They will never be different. Upgrading only affects the appearance of the cards. So if you upgrade a card, let's say Hulk, you have just like a little standard, looks like a playing card, but then it's like you upgrade him once and then, it looks like he's busting out of the frame because it is digital. So you can do a little bit more than you could with physical media, and it looks like he's popping out of the screen, and then you upgrade again, and oh, he's 3D. So when you move your phone, there's like this little 3D effect, and you can kind of see the comic book background, because all the cards kind of look like a comic book like issue. They're very neat, and they're really, really well designed. And so you keep upgrading those cards to make your card look neat. It has no effect on the game. It's just, when somebody plays it, you're like, oh man, they really like Hulk. They've upgraded this to the highest level, and like, oh, it's so pretty. I wish I had a card like that. And the more you do that, that increases your level, your collection level. There's another leveling system that I will not get into, but that increases your collection level, which gives you more access to more credits, more things called boosters that help you upgrade specific cards, and it helps you open a random card pack. So if you access a specific tier in your level and you get a random pack, maybe you'll get Miles Morales, or you'll get Uncle Ben, or maybe you'll get, I'm trying to think of another, Angela. Everybody's favorite Marvel character, Angela. So it is fun to see. It's like, oh man, well, I hope this next time I get Moon Girl, because Ben has Moon Girl, and he's been showing me how cool of a card that is, and I want that card. At the time of recording, there is no way to get the cards you actually want to get, which is unfortunate, but they are going to implement that feature. So by the end of the year, I would assume that feature is going to come, along with playing against friends. Right now, you just play against random opponents, and you cannot play against friends, but that feature is coming. Those are two things I would like to see. So that's all of the good. I do want to highlight a little bit of the bad. You use credits to upgrade your cards. There is another currency called gold that is usually used to buy variants of cards. So you can buy, I actually bought a card. There is an X-Men character named Jubilee, and in the store they had one of her cards that was totally anime inspired. It was her artwork, but it was done in like 80s anime, maybe 90s anime. Looked awesome, and I was like, that's an amazing card. I really want to spend money on that. So I spent real money to buy that card. Is a better Jubilee card? Is it like the best card in the game? No, it's not. It's just a pretty version of a card that I already have. You can only buy cards that you already have, which is nice. You can also spend gold, real money, to gain credits. You can only do that like twice per day. They really limit you on how much credits you can buy with real money. And in the beginning, you don't need to do that. You unlock cards at random. You unlock variant cards. Like I said, at random. The cards you get is random, but like the actual speed that you're getting cards is very fast. Like when you play the first week of the game, you are getting a lot of cards. So it's really enjoyable. As you go on, where I am now, I've played the game for about a month and a half or so. It's relatively new. I was not a part of the beta. I have felt the game pressure me into, if I spend real money, I'll be able to get more stuff faster, which is unfortunate. That's the market that we are with mobile games and with microtransactions. I hate it. I don't think that this is the way that video games should be going, but it is the way that they are because it is financially successful. So if you show some restraint, like I have, that I really only play the game now whenever it gives me the notification that I have new missions, then, that helps a little bit of the offset of the FOMO of well, I guess I gotta spend real money. I mean, it is a free game, but it is all supplementary. It is not required for the game. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to do this. Does it make the game easier? A little bit, especially the battle pass. I leveled up and went through a lot of stuff very early on because of that Carnage battle pass when I first started playing. But you, the loyal viewer, the lovely viewer and listener, you do not have to do that. If you want to, if you do something that you enjoy, even if it costs money, I don't think it's wasted time. I've certainly done it. I enjoy this game. I'm going to be continuing playing it throughout the year. Will I buy the next battle pass? We'll see. Now you're totally in, you're hooked. And it's like, Scotty, you said it before, but can you say it again? Where can I play this game? Oh, yes, I absolutely can. You can play Marvel Snap on iOS or Android. Just go to your app store of your choice and download it. It is free. It's also on Steam. Steam is still in early access at the time of recording, I believe. And I do not know if your stuff crosses over. I have not tested that. I've been waiting for Steam to, cement itself and be just like the mobile version. But if that's your only option, then that is how you can play the game. So there's the what's what on Marvel Snap. If you have any other thoughts on the best of Marvel games and possibly one of the best games of 2022, feel free to email us at mail@ScottyMeLad.com. Your letter might even be read on the show. This is normally where I would say, hey, you can follow me on Twitter. I am no longer using Twitter for a multitude of reasons that I hope are obvious to the listener. If not, now that Trump is back and Elon is tanking this awful app even further into the ground, I'm not using it. But we do have an Instagram page at ScottyMeLad Shows. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, it is up and running and it's going to be neat. If not, be on the lookout for that. And then if you want to support me and the other people who work with ScottyMeLad directly, you can support us on Ko-fi at kofi.com/ScottyMeLad. You can donate one-time donations or by giving monthly. And doing that, you can gain access to behind-the-scenes content, engage with the community, engage with me, and help us reach goals to improve our podcasts and videos and everything else that we do. We have a video coming up sometime soon of me reacting to some of the oldest videos that I made when I was really young, 15 years ago, which is going to be so cringy, but it's going to be great. And that video was made from generous viewers like you. So thank you. Oh, I can't believe I get to say that. That's so cool. But hopefully you've taken something out of this episode and will give Marvel Snap a shot and then play with me. But best of all, you were a listener, and we at ScottyMeLad thank you. And that's my closer. Best of All was hosted and produced by Scott D. Forsythe, using the song Mia by Rolando Pujadas from the album Canta as our intro and outro theme.